Right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I hope you are all well. Hi there, Ruby, Joseph, Fabian, Uncle Oops. Like the name, like the name. Okay. Listen, folks. So we know that tonight is our final live stream. I'm here basically for you. So any questions you have, anything you want me to go over, anything you want some clarity on, let me know. Let's hit it. Let's go through it. I'm here until 7 at your disposal. Okay, maybe that's not the right word to use. Hi, evening, Patrick. Welcome. So guys, let me know in the chat. Give me your questions. I hope that you've all been preparing well. I know some of you are writing tomorrow, so I know that's a bit hectic. Okay, difference between phishing and farming. Let me actually just get that on my screen so that you can see exactly what that is. Okay, so when we're talking about phishing, right, I want you to think of the guy standing, down at the harbor. He's busy fishing. What does he do? He's got his rod in his hand. He's got his bait. What is he then doing? He's going to be throwing that bait out, okay, in the hopes of doing what? In the hopes of catching something. So he's going to throw out bait. In the same way, these scammers who use phishing, they will try and bait you in order to do what? In order to get your personal information. So phishing is when people are trying to con you out of your personal information, things like your bank details, your ATM pin, things like that. When it comes to farming is when they are taking you to a site that looks exactly like a legitimate site. So they give you a link. They tell you, click on this just to verify your details, and you go and you click on the link. It takes you to a site that looks just like, let's say, ABSA, for example, just like a normal ABSA site. You pop your details in, and then it's like, oh no, yeah, here's a problem, because nothing's happening when you are actually doing that. So farming is them creating a whole new site that looks like a legitimate site, but it's not. Whereas phishing is the way they are trying to con you out of your details, your confidential details like PIN codes and things like that. Okay, Patrick's asking me, yeah, hello, sir. Writing the paper in Afrikaans, am I allowed to use English words in my answers, and to what extent? Sure, Patrick. I honestly, I don't know if you can do that. I think somebody also asked, I think maybe it was you, that asked about putting it in inverted commas or something like that. So I would try my best not to do that if you can. Just try, and also if the language is going to be a problem, I know, like getting all these terms into Afrikaans, there are a lot of these terms that if you need to put it in English, I would just say, you know what, if you really can't remember it in Afrikaans, throw it out in English. But I don't want to say, that is the official standpoint that they will allow that. So try your best for Afrikaans, but yeah, if not, if it's like a last resort, then you can do that. Okay. I just want to check on this one quickly. So good evening, sir. Do you have any last minute tips for us for writing tomorrow? Chimanga, are you talking now about grade 12, right? So for the grade 12s, all I'm going to say is this. Number one, read through your paper. Okay. Number 2, remember the paper's broken up into certain sections, just like the prelim. So if you've gone through the prelim videos on the channel, if you've been doing it yourself, between the Department of Education one and the IEB one, you can see that the way they ask the questions are similar. You have your multiple choice section. And like I said, when it comes to multiple choice, first read the question, then try and understand what they are asking you to do. Once you understand that, then go to the options. Eliminate the 2 that you know. It cannot be those 2. And then at least you have a 50-50 on the options that are left. The next section is usually your match the term to the definition. Okay, so that should be simple enough. And then your true and false. Your true and false, again, if it's true, it's true. If it's false, you need to say why it is false. Okay. As for the rest of the paper, it'll usually be under a scenario. So they'll pull everything from social engineering, which is like your phishing, your farming, your malware. They'll bring in the specs of a PC. And I actually just want to get a screenshot. Let's see if I can get one here quickly. Because the PC spec list is it usually counts for around, it can be anything like 50 marks up when they do ask you for these things. So I just want to get a real life example, and we can check that out. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, okay, here's something. Just having a look at this quickly. So if I bring this in over here, okay, hope you guys can see that. Let me just see, where am I? Oh, taking StreamYard out there. Okay, so let's see now. When we look at this, here we can see our minimum and recommended specs. Okay, when it comes to a PC. Now, first of all, when we deal with minimum and recommended, these are what's known as system requirements. Okay, so when you buy let's say a Microsoft Office package, or you buy a game, they'll have for the computer minimum and recommended requirements. So the minimum is to have that particular piece of software or game or program run decently. That's what the minimum does. So you can see here the AVG performance, minimum 1080p, graphics settings medium, GPU, that's your graphics card, what type of CPU you should have. And you can see this is an Intel Core i7. Okay. Your RAM 16 gigs, your operating system Mac. Now you can see when we go to the recommended, which is what we need or what the program needs in order to run beautifully, you can see there's a big difference. Okay. The only things that seem to have remained the same are the CPU and the RAM. But everything else has changed. So just know the difference between your minimum and recommended. Then on that, the reason why I say your specs can cost you a lot of marks is because when you run through this, what are they actually talking about, or what can they ask you? Well, on the CPU, they can ask you who's the manufacturer. They can ask you what model CPU is it? What speed is it running at? They can ask you what is the RAM. Remember, our RAM is our primary storage area. Our hard drive is our secondary storage area or secondary memory, right? Getting a couple of other questions. Okay, Harry, when you're talking about M-learning, are we talking about mobile learning? Just give me clarity on that. And then Joseph, what's the difference between VGA and HDMI? So our VGA connectors, that just gives us a video signal from the computer through to the actual monitor. Okay, it only gives us video. HDMI is a cable that gives us video and audio from our PC through to our monitor or our TV, things like that. Okay, let me actually just change this. Let me just leave it on that screen. Okay. Then we've got augmented reality. Okay. I don't know if any of you have heard of Pokemon Go, right? This was a big thing. So with Pokemon Go, you would take your phone, you'd obviously download the app on your phone. You would then be able to open the app and you'd be able to like use the camera and look around you to see reality that's around you, okay? Like you would do with a normal camera. Then when you activate that app, it then starts to throw things into the real picture that you've seen. So augmenting, we're talking about changing what reality looks like or just adding things. So with Pokemon Go, I could take my phone, I could face it to the street, and suddenly I'd see one of those characters jump into the screen as if they're like walking on the road, and then I had to go and catch them. That's augmented reality, when we are changing something to a real picture that we see in front of us. Now, virtual reality is when we go into a whole new computerized version of reality. So, that's where we have to put the VR headset on and things like that. Right. Next one, unshaped and shaped. Now, let me just go back on this. So with an internet connection, sometimes they'll talk about throttling, okay? And there's a difference between shaped, unshaped, and uncapped. Now we know capped means there's a limit on the amount of data. Okay, so they'll tell you 500 gigs a month or something like that. Uncapped means it's unlimited for that month. Shaped and unshaped, that means that the internet service provider, if it's shaped, they can prioritize what you can actually download and upload. So if a connection is shaped, they might give priority, and that's the key word, priority to maybe downloads or priority to uploads. When it's unshaped, it means you can do whatever you want to on that line, and you're not restricted by any priority listing of like downloads or uploads or things like that. So that's the main difference between shaped and unshaped. This is why on a shaped connection, you'll find maybe uploading to Facebook is a bit slower, but streaming 4K might be very fast, and yet you've got like a 30 meg line. So just understand the difference between those two. Okay, next one, still on the internet there, the difference between the fiber connection and ADSL. Now, first of all, they have something in common, and that is that they are both fixed line connections. So there's a physical line running all the way around the country that's either ADSL or fiber. ADSL is your normal old cable that's got physical wires running inside. Okay, your fiber connection is thinner, it is lighter, and the data that's transmitted in fiber is transmitted via light. That's the fundamental difference. ADSL transmits the signal via electrical cables, and fiber transmits the signal via light, and that's why fiber is so much faster than ADSL. But the cables are a lot more brittle. I don't know if you've seen a fiber cable. Let me actually just show you here. Okay, so guys, there you can see, I keep doing this. There you can see that is what a fiber optic cable looks like inside. And you can see it's got glass fibers that transmit the data via light, whereas ADSL has your copper cables running through. Okay, and that's your data is transmitted via electricity through there. All right, next one. So what does quad core mean? When we talk about dual core, quad core, I-core, first of all, we're talking about the CPU. Okay. Now, the CPU we know is the brains of the whole operation in your PC. So what quad core then means is that your CPU is not physically, but it's, as we say, logically broken up into 4 parts. In other words, the CPU looks and sees, okay, hang on. I'm going to split the way I do things so that say 25% of my power, I'm going to devote to programs. 25% I'm going to devote to background activities. 25% I'm going to devote, to any hardware that's connected. And in that way, it can also prioritize what needs to be done on the PC. So this is why you'll see with your dual cores and then your quad cores are a lot faster in terms of how it operates and how it does things as opposed to your dual core. The latest CPUs are like I cores, so they are intelligent cores. They work out exactly what you are asking it to do, and then it does it based on its calculation. Okay. What is the difference between cloud computing and grid computing? Okay, so cloud computing is when we are using a software program that is based online. So something like Google Docs, that is a program that is based fully online. So in order to access it, we need to be on the internet. Grid computing is when we are using a few powerful computers and we actually link them all together in order to perform a very challenging calculation. So for example, things like predicting the weather. You would have these guys have massive computers all linked together in some sort of network, and they are brought together for the purpose of processing these massive calculations that need to be done. So it's usually in like weather, science, those type of areas. Why is uploading files slower than downloading files? Again, that most of the time that depends on your internet service provider. I know many of you and even your parents, they don't read the fine print when it comes to the internet. All they look at is cost. And this is why, guys, on the channel, I'm making tech guides now and computer literacy courses. I want your parents, if they're not up to scratch on the stuff, to go and watch that. It's going to help them. There's a buyer's guide for laptops, cell phones, laptops, smartphones, and desktops that I'm uploading, so that when they go to the shop, they know what to ask for. It's sort of empowering them because all they look at is cost. But on some internet lines, they will tell you it's a 30 meg line, but you're getting 30 megs of downloading speed, but only 10 megabytes of uploading speed. Okay, so that's usually one of the reasons. You do pay more if it's pure 30 megs download and upload, and it's an unshaped line, man. Then you're going to pay a lot of money. Okay, but if you're going to be doing streaming, if you're going to be doing all these things online, then it's definitely worth it. Excel error messages. Yeah, let's see if I can find a couple of examples. In the grade 12, they don't really ask too many of these, but for the other grades, yes. Okay, so there you can see those are your typical Excel error messages. And there we can see, for example, null. That's a space was used in the formulas that reference multiple ranges. A comma separates range differences. Num would be a formula that has an invalid numeric data, so a number is incorrect over there. Ref is for a reference that is invalid. Value means you've put in the incorrect value. Let me just see if there's more here. Yeah, there's also div. Let me just enlarge this, where you are trying to divide by 0. So, guys, these are the basic. I'm actually just going to put this link in here. Those are the basic, that link that I'm putting up. Those are the basic Excel errors that you can get. Okay, so here's another one. And I see this question is coming up. So here's a question that was asked. what technology is associated with 802.11? Now, just stop there. When we deal with 802.11, we are talking about Wi-Fi. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then you can see with the BGN that you're asking, there are a number of specifications. You can see that with A, that's up to 54 megabits per second, but that's at that particular frequency. So they don't really ask that. Generally, they ask BGN, and you can see B is around about, that's what we can usually say it's around about 10 megabits per second. G is our 50 megabits per second. And if we go up to N, that is all the way up to 600 megabits per second. Okay, so that's what it's referring to. So when you see 802.11, you know it's a Wi-Fi connection or Wi-Fi technology, and then the letters would indicate the speed of that. Okay, Nadira, what is geotagging? Right, so geotagging is a feature on your cell phone where you are taking a picture and it actually saves the geographical location. So it saves the date you took the photo on. It saves the actual, like I said, geographical location. So if you took it in the Joburg CBD at a particular, place, guys, this is not a feature you really want. But it's very nice for people who take lots of photos and do a lot of traveling, because what will happen is it'll save the date and time and location for each and every photo. So now your photos can then get sorted out on your phone via date. And when you come back from traveling, when you put all the photos together, you can see, well, this was all taken on this date and that date. And it just helps to organize that. So when we talk about geotagging, talking about the feature that allows, or a feature that takes the date, time, and geographical location and attaches it to the photo that you've actually taken. Oh, wow. Thank you very much, sir. I discovered your channel a week before prelims, and your videos were of much help to me. No problem at all. I got the highest for, oh my word. I got the highest for cat in grade 12. Woohoo! Oh, yeah. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. Beautiful. Well done. Well done. Okay, two reasons for clearing a web browser cache. Now, first of all, let us explain what cache is. So when we talk about web browser cache, have you ever noticed that if you go to a website and then you go to a different one and you want to go back to that previous website, that it loads a lot quicker? And that is because there is a temporary memory area, which is called cache, where the details of that website are stored. So you open up your browser, you go to Facebook, it stores it there. Then when you go to, let's say, Gumtree, you have, scroll there as well. When you want to go back to Facebook, it actually loads the website via the cache and not the internet. And then as you scroll through, it connects back to the internet. So one of the reasons you would clear the cache is sometimes it can cause the browsers to slow down. Sometimes you can have too many of these temporary files, which can have an effect on the PC and in the browser as well, like I mentioned. So you would want to clear it for that. Sometimes, because this thing's stored in the cache, certain features on the browser doesn't open properly. So I know sometimes people want to log into, let's say, a Gmail account or so, and then they find it doesn't want to work. And when they clear the cache, they find, oh, wait, now it's working. Okay, so it's there just to clear any problems as well. Okay, next one. What are the differences between RAM and SSD? So first of all, what is RAM? RAM is your random access memory. What does it do? Well, it's a temporary storage area for instructions and for applications and tasks that are currently open on your PC. So that's what it's there for. It is volatile, which means when you switch the PC off, all those instructions are wiped clean, right? When we switch the PC on, we begin with a clean slate again. Now, SSD stands for our solid state drive. This refers to a hard drive, but this is a new type of hard drive. Your SSDs are smaller hard drives. Man, I think I've got a picture here. They are smaller hard drives. They are faster. They have no moving parts in them. Yeah, here's a picture here. Let's just see. versus the normal hard drive. Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Okay, so there we can see this is what our traditional hard drive looks like. You can see how much thicker that is. You can see in the traditional hard drive, there's always this disk. Okay, because in your normal hard drive, there's a disk that spins, and this is where all the info is written to. Whereas your SSD, you can see inside, there's no moving parts. So your SSD is a faster hard drive, smaller hard drive. It is more expensive. It is quiet. It impacts the performance of the PC as well. So, yeah, that's the difference between those two. RAM is your memory, and SSD refers to your hard drive. Okay, here's just another question. So, how does bandwidth influence the stream of your movies? Oh, it has a massive effect. If you don't have enough bandwidth, then your stream, whatever you are streaming, it affects the quality of that stream. So if you're trying to stream 4K, but you've only got a 2 meg line, and your mother and your father are both connected to it, then yeah, it's not gonna go well. You're gonna end up having a very blocky image. Okay, remember when we talk about bots, I'm talking about botnet, we're talking about a piece of software that can take control of your PC. And it actually does whatever the person who's created it, it does whatever that person has instructed it to do. So it will literally take over your PC and perform certain instructions and things like that. That's why you have that capture method, because a lot of these hackers and that, they use bots to try and break through user accounts. So if you've got capture, that capture method checks whether you are a human being or a bot. Okay, then we're talking about denial of service attacks. Okay, so denial of service attacks, this is when you're just getting a whole bunch of requests going through to a server. I know a good couple of years ago, Amazon, I think it was Amazon, their server went down because they got literally hundreds of thousands of service requests, which come through as denial of service attacks. And these things aren't requesting anything. It's just like you getting 100,000 emails, and the whole purpose is to overload the server to the point where the server breaks down, okay, or shuts down. Now, one of the ways that it can be prevented is by a firewall. You can have either a software firewall or a hardware firewall. You can also have an antivirus system, but you need to make sure that it's up to date, that your antivirus system is also scanned and remains updated. So those for me would be just two of the methods that one could do that. Okay, blockchain. Yeah, here we're talking about crypto again. So when we talk about blockchain, a blockchain is basically an online ledger, a digital ledger of accounts. Okay, so if we look at Bitcoin, for example, every transaction within the Bitcoin network, with all these Bitcoins moving left, right, and center, that all that movement has to be recorded somewhere. And the blockchain does that. So the blockchain, first of all, is an online ledger. What does it do? It records all the transactions within a crypto. Okay, so if you go, for example, here to blockchain.com, and I go and have a look here. I know I could usually go in. I go to my Explorer. Then here, for example, I can see exactly what's happening in terms, in terms of Bitcoin's transactions. So there you can see this is what the blockchain does. The blockchain helps the movement, it facilitates the movement of the crypto. Here you can see all the transactions taking place, and it is recorded on this online ledger, which is your blockchain. Okay, grid computing. We did touch on grid computing. We were mentioning the fact that it is when you take a number of powerful PCs and you connect them together in a network for the purpose of processing very complicated calculations. Okay, your zombie computers, these are computers basically controlled by bots because they end up being zombies. So when you talk about a zombie computer, it means that it's a computer that's being controlled by someone else. Okay, I'm just checking some of the other questions coming through. Okay, so another one that we've got here from Justin. Sir, what is a skimmer? Now, we usually hear this term skimming from the folks who try to con you at the ATMs. So they use a card skimming machine. So what it does is, when we talk about skimming, that's number one, is an illegal practice. Okay, obviously used by thieves to do what? To capture your credit card info, to make a copy of that card. So a skimmer will be a physical device that they will run your ATM card through, whether it's your debit card, credit card, and it captures the information that's in that card. Then they can go and make a new card with all of that information. Okay, I'm seeing another question come through. There we can see they're talking about, they were asking the difference between the fourth and fifth industrial revolution. So here you can see the fourth industrial revolution is where we are, where everything is going, very digital. Let me just, right, everything is moving forward in a very digital manner. We're talking about robotics, the Internet of Things. When we talk about the Internet of Things, people, we're just talking about everything that's related to the internet, everything that works on the internet. That's what that particular topic covers: blockchain, crypto, robotics, all those type of things. Then we move on to the fifth industrial revolution, which is personalization. They tell us this is where we're talking about innovation, purpose, and inclusivity, deep multi-level operations between people and machines. This is when you start getting into like way beyond AI and things like that. Okay, so that's where we look at your fifth industrial revolution. All right, the next one. What is a patch? Okay, so you've got a patch, you've got an update, you've got service packs. So what a patch does, it just fixes it's, and you need to think of it this way. If you've got a bicycle and you get a puncture with a bicycle, we used to use something called patching solution, where it's like you get a scrape on your arm, you clean it off, you put on a plaster, and there you go. Patch is going to do the same thing. Patch is a little piece of software that fixes a particular problem. So when they tell you that you've got updates, that's ready for your phone, these updates are filled with these different patches that are there to sort out problems on your phone. Okay, so speaking of which, here's another question. What's the difference between an update and an upgrade? So an update will be where the software is taken from one version to another. So that will be a big change in the way the program operates. So, for example, if we've got Windows 10, for example, and there is an update for it, it means it will have a collection of patches that are there to, change a couple of things in the background, problems that they've picked up. That's what the update will do. An upgrade is where you are changing the entire system. So you will upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Now you are changing the whole functionality of that program. You are changing, maybe it's going to have a whole different layout, etc. So the upgrade changes the entire program, whereas the update will only see to things within the current program. Okay, Nathan's asking, what are the advantages and disadvantages of updating your device? Look, that is going to be a very personal thing. Some people don't like these updates. I'm not always a fan of them, but at some point you don't have a choice, and then you have to update your device. So, as much as I'm not always a fan of just updating everything with every single update that comes through. I've been doing it for the past year, experimenting like with Windows 10 and running all of its updates. So an advantage will simply be that you have the latest version of that program with all the various fixes and patches and things like that. So your operating system will be able to handle sort of any problem that comes to it because it's been updated regularly. Okay. One of the disadvantages is that sometimes these updates come through and they don't work properly, and it can at sometimes damage your system. Okay, so that is the disadvantage there. Okay. BYOD, bring your own. All right. So why would people be talking about BYOD? Let's say you're going to have some sort of party or maybe just like a school function, and you're going to need people to use their cell phones, right? You can tell them, listen, we're going to have a nice games evening. We're going to do a whole lot of stuff. So bring your own device with you because you want them to use, whether it's a cell phone, tablet, anything like that. So there are different scenarios where, you would tell people to bring your own device. That would depend on the scenario. Generally in the exam, they'll ask you, what is BYOD? And they'll give you a scenario of where you can use BYOD in that scenario. Okay. Then the next one, what is the difference between email hoax? Okay, an email hoax is when they're outrightly lying to you. Okay. So you get an email telling you you've got some relative that died over in Russia when you've never had a relative like that. You've never had that, but suddenly you do, and they've left you $3 million. Oh, fantastic. And you get all excited. It's a lie. It's a hoax. Okay. Email spoofing is when they fabricate the email header. In other words, they send you that email and it looks like it has an official header. Like if you get an email from a hoax email from ABSA, they'll have the proper headers, everything in place to make it look official. That's email spoofing. So the email hoax is a lie, but the spoofing is where they are fabricating the email headers to make you think that it's actually a legitimate site. Or a legitimate email, rather. Okay, so usually when you get the page not found, sometimes it is an internet connection error. Sometimes you need to clear your cache. Sometimes it could be a problem that's on the side of the actual website host. Remember, when we access websites, people, we are actually connecting to a server somewhere else in the world. So if I connect to facebook.com, I'm connecting to the Facebook servers that are located over in America. If they are down, doesn't matter if my internet is 100 megs per second. If they are down, I won't be able to connect to them. And then, all of you saw, remember when I think it was WhatsApp and Facebook went down a couple of weeks ago? Nobody could access it. Okay. And then suddenly it looked like the whole world went down. Okay. Next one. Advantages of converting hard copies into digital formats. So I'm assuming you're talking about things like scanning. So one of the big advantages is that we can take our hard copies and we can leave it in digital format. We can take large documents and convert it into one single digital file. We can take old documents and convert it into digital format that can be stored for generations, right? We can take old photos and also convert that into digital format. So those are just a few of the advantages. Loving these questions, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want you to know also, because of all of you, and I'm going to say this now and I'm going to say it at the end, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you that has been supporting this channel through your subscriptions, through your likes, your comments, sharing it out there. I'm telling people, I would love them to support the channel as well, financially, in order to get this channel even bigger than what it is. I want this to be the #1 cat channel in the country. And it's because of you. We've hit over 2,700 subscribers so far. And this is amazing because I think in June we had something like 500. So there's massive potential going here, and this is all because of you. You have made this possible. So a huge thank you to all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Next one, advantages and disadvantages of 3D printers. So we know our 3D printer prints out a 3D, shape, object, whatever it is, that I'm going to be printing. Now, some of the advantages is the fact that, and I know in the prelim they use the example of a drone. So with my drone, I can now print my own parts, or whatever I need, I can print my own instead of going to order from somebody else and then waiting, and then maybe I've got to get it from overseas. It's going to cost me a lot more. So I'm going to save on cost. I'm going to save on time. I'm going to be able to, make or print my own pieces of equipment, and I can customize it to what I want. The big disadvantage is, well, two. Number one, not a lot of people know how to use it. And secondly, what happens is it's massively expensive. Okay, obviously depending on how big you are going to go with these printers. Funny discovered you now say the day before my file, but yes, no problem at all. No problem at all. Hey, I'm liking that profile pic over there, Obi. Very nice. Okay, another one. Convergence and green computing. Okay, so first of all, let's just get the two terms, and then we can look at, if they actually contribute to one another. So what is convergence? Convergence is when we bring multiple technologies together into one device. So your smartphone is an example of convergence. It's taken the technology of a video camera, a voice recorder, a camera, a stopwatch, a compass, all of those different technologies, and it's brought it into one device. That's convergence. Green computing is when we are using our computer environment and our computer devices in a way that supports the environment. So when you, for example, get away from your PC and you're not using it, switch it off. If you're not using the monitor, switch it off. When you are done with your inkjet printer, for example, if your ink runs out, you refill it instead of throwing it away and buying new ones. Same with your laser toner. Okay, so I won't say contributes to the two. They are two totally different concepts, but just understand those two concepts and then you should be fine. Okay, ways in which database queries are helpful when analyzing data. Well, we've seen with our queries, we can extract specific information. Okay, so that's one of the big ways in which it's helpful. So it helps us analyze specific data. It helps us put in criteria to get even more specific data in terms of what we are actually looking for. It helps us narrow down what we are, sifting through. Because a lot of the times with our database, we've got massive amounts of data, but our queries help us to narrow that down, to exactly what we are looking for. Okay, next one. What is a keylogger? Okay, so a keylogger is a piece of malware. So it's harmful software. What does it do? Well, it monitors your keystrokes. It checks when you type in websites, usernames, passwords. It monitors every stroke on your keyboard. And when you connect to the internet, it sends that information through to the person who wrote that piece of malware in the first place. So this is why it's good to be careful what you download. Be careful what you install on your PC. Have an antivirus system that's updated regularly, and then you should be fine. Okay. Let me ask you this. What I've seen in the markers reports for the last 2 years, because Anik is asking here, do you think violence is going to be marked strictly? I think given also, COVID and the fact that we've had time constraints, I don't think they'll be too hard. I don't think it will be that strictly marked. So there will be a little bit of leniency or a little bit of leeway when it comes to cat. Like with, let's say, for example, Elo, there has to be a bit of leniency if they understand what you are saying. So yeah, that's all I can really say about that. I usually tell people, if you've mastered your prelims, then you should be good to go for finals. Okay, so if you've been preparing on that, you should be good to go. Can you give us some tips, things that they will most likely ask tomorrow? Look, I have no idea what they will ask, but what I've seen over the last couple of years is, again, like I said at the beginning, they will give you a multiple choice section, they'll give you a true and false section, and the rest of the paper should be based on one scenario. So they'll ask you things like the specs of a PC. I wanted to let me just get that out. That's one thing I said I wanted to go through. Just looking for a nice little look over here. It's okay. I know this is too much, but yeah. So, guys, I don't want to kill you with this. Oh my word, this might be a bit too much. So this is one of the biggest sections in your paper, and it's the specs of a PC. So I'm just using a real life example over here. I just want to touch on 2 or 3 of these. Guys, we're going to focus on this. Let's have a look here. What is the difference between malware and spyware? Malware is the collective term for malicious software. Okay, harmful software. Spyware is an example of malicious software. Spyware is a program that works in the background and literally spies on you. So it records all of the things you are doing, and then when you connect to the internet, then it sends it to the person who actually loaded it on your PC. And this can be downloaded via downloads or somebody's flash drive or things like that. But malware is the collective term for all these, Trojans, viruses, all those things. They're all known as malware, which is harmful software. Okay, then the negative effects of software piracy. We know software piracy is when we are dealing with the illegal copying and distribution of programs. Okay, so yeah, we're giving Office to our friends, Microsoft Office. Everybody's copying it, installing it. We've got multiple copies of Windows on a flash drive. The negative effects for software creators is they miss out on royalties. They miss out on getting paid for those installations. So that's the main thing. That's why they try and crack down on the movies as well. Okay, so let me focus on this quickly. So here we have a laptop, and they say to you, here's all the specs that you have. So if I just look at this top section over here, I mean that's a massive amount of information. What is that telling me? That's telling me the manufacturer of the laptop, which is HP. It's telling me the model. Then it's telling me the CPU. Who's the manufacturer? It's AMD. What's the model? It's the Ryzen 5. What's the speed? Right? There's your 5500U up to 4 gigahertz. That's my speed. What is it measured in? Gigahertz. Okay. It's also got your boost clock, which means it can go even faster than that. There you can see 6 cores. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy. This one's got 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM. What's the size of the RAM? It's 8 gigs. What is the speed of that particular RAM? Or they might ask you, what does DDR4 stand for? Well, we don't need to know what it stands for. What does it mean? Well, it refers to the speed model of that particular RAM. So it's the DDR version 4. Okay. Then we've got a 512 gig ultra fast SSD. That's the size of our hard drive. We've got a 15.6-inch full HD. There's our resolution. Anti-glare display. Remember, the resolution, that's the amount of pixels. We've got an integrated graphics card. We've got Windows Home 10 64-bit. Okay, guys, I hope you are seeing when I go through this. There we go. That's what was asked. 802.11 GN. That's telling you BGN. That's telling you that it can connect to any of those wireless networks. Okay, so can you see how many questions can actually get asked from something like this? So go through a couple of examples. It will definitely help. Another question. Will they most likely divide all the questions in between 3 books or focus more on the info in a certain book? The Department of Education has to use a certain book. I think IEB uses a different book. Not sure with them, but for those who are still with me next year, I will be moving over to a private school where they're doing IEB. So then I'll be able to shed more light on that. But you know what? My advice would be the more you can get hold of, the more you can go through, the better it's going to be. But I know the Department of Education, what I've seen in the last couple of exams, they don't only take from what's in the textbook. There are a couple of things extra like blockchain, Bitcoin mining that have come up that's not in the current textbook. I know there's seems to be a different one out there somewhere that has a couple of those things. That's why I shared the IEB papers that covers that for you. So this is why I'm saying that if you've gone through the videos I made about the Department of Education paper, that prelim paper, I think it was a number of videos, and then the one long one I made with regards to the IEB paper and everything else, then it should be fine. Oh, sorry, Simone. We're talking about look, I would say yes and no. And I know it sounds weird. When I was going through this week, when I was streaming the entire grade 10 syllabus and 11 syllabus, there's, most of the things that are in the grade 10 syllabus are in the 11 syllabus, and those things that are in the 11 are in the 12. So for you, I would probably say just look at the grade 11 and 12 syllabus. Don't worry about the grade 10 one because everything is already in your grade 11 book. Right. Another one. What is the general difference between CAT and IT? So when we deal with CAT, we're talking about working with the computer environment. So the computer itself, Windows, Office, the general environment, working with files, emails, all those type of things, and becoming very computer literate and more. IT specifically deals with programming. So IT assumes that you already know everything that's in CAT. You know how to work with the operating system. You know how to create files. You know how to create shortcuts. All those things that you would have learned in CAT. So it assumes, listen, I know those things. I don't need to know them. I can move to the next level. And then that focuses specifically on programming. Okay. Pele, I wouldn't say IEB is better. But I think it is good to incorporate that in your studying as well, just so that you have the best of both worlds. So if they decide to ask you, a question that is of a higher level, you've already covered that. I know sometimes they don't always. They are, and I've seen this time and time again. There are a couple of questions that come through that you don't find sometimes in previous papers or in certain textbooks. So this is why I've done this for you guys to make sure that you have the best of both. But Use it as a combination. Don't separate one from the other. I love this question. Yeah, okay. Is it enough if we just study your 2 exam prep videos for the final? um, yo, I don't know how to answer that. I'm gonna say yes and no. I like to keep myself safe. Okay. Right. Reason I'm saying that. Number one, yes, because it covers the September trial. It covers the September Department of Education trial paper and the September IEB paper. However, I would then add to that all the content on the channel under grade 12, and then obviously your textbook as well. If you've got that, you should be A for away. You should be sorted 100%. But I wouldn't just go as far as just my 2 videos because I would say go through all the videos on the channel under grade 12. I've got it in playlists there. Go through that, and then I think you should be fine. Okay, we did explain, Asa, the difference between VGA and HDMI. They both provide us video signal from our computer to a monitor. VGA gives us only video. HDMI gives us video and audio. All right, phishing and farming, we did touch on also, Vyokazi. Phishing is where you have these con artists and scammers. They are trying to con you out of your personal information and your confidential information. Whereas farming is where there are websites, fake websites that are created to look like legitimate ones, again, in order to get your information. Oh, Jody, you're putting me in a very difficult position. Probably. Yeah, would I be penalized if I answer my Afrikaans paper in English? Most likely. I mean, you know, they might allow you to get away with the odd English word here and there, but on the whole, it should obviously be Afrikaans if you are writing in that instruction medium. Okay, here's another one that I did explain already. Can you maybe explain green computing? So remember, green computing is where we are using our computing environment and our computing devices in a way that benefits the environment. So things like when you have a inkjet printer, and an inkjet printer, it runs out of ink. What do? With green computing, you refill the cartridge. When you're printing, you use both sides of the page. When you're done with your PC, you switch it off, or you switch the monitor off when you're not using it. Those are ways that we take the environment into consideration when using our computing devices. Is it possible for them to ask advantages or disadvantages of grid computing? Most likely not. Most likely they'll give you a scenario asking you about what it is and why they would actually use it, or maybe like an example of one of its uses, like predicting the weather, or scientific research or things like that. Clouds, you have come in clutch and saved me. Thank you so much. I'm glad I can be of service. All right, folks, looks like we're down to our last 1 or 2 minutes. How much points should we learn when there's a topic like advice? Okay, so again, what I've seen over the years is when it comes to advantages and disadvantages, I know, I don't know why, but a lot of these slides and a lot of the things in your textbook has got like 8 different advantages and 6 different disadvantages. And guys, you don't need to know all of that. I would say maximum, you're looking at probably like 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages per item. Okay, really. Oh no, man, Jody, don't say that. If it weren't for you, oh man, oh man, I'm already feeling hot so because this is my last for the year, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you guys all of the best for tomorrow. For if you're not writing tomorrow, whenever you are writing, really, I wish you God's blessings and success for the future, especially the grade 12s. Thank you for being with me this year. And again, like I said before, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to each and every one of you. Sure. Yeah, I don't want to get all emotional here. Oh, thank you. Cat teacher of the year. Oh my word. Thank you so much. Oh yeah. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it from me. Just want to say again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support this year. Mwah. Love you guys. And I wish you everything of the best. I see there's still a couple of questions. What type of questions can we get on system technologies? Well, they can ask you about, let me just stop here quickly. They can usually ask you about the things like your system software, and things like that. The different types of softwares, your input and output devices. Those are a lot of the things that they can come up with there. Yeah, I think that's about it. Hey guys, so again, thank you very much. Thank you for everything. I wish you everything of the best. Sorry that my glasses are doing this. It's reacting to the screen here, and the color in the background. So yes, oh man, I love this one. Make Mr. Hembry proud. Make yourselves proud as well. I often, I used to pride myself on when I go into an exam, I want to be able to sit down, and when that um, paper comes and I have my couple of minutes to look through everything, I want to be able to do something. And this is what I did. I would open my paper and I'd be like, is this what you're asking me? Is this seriously what you are asking me? Go in, crush that paper. And then the people think there's something wrong with you because you're walking out with a massive smile on your face. So that is what I wish for all of you, that when you open that paper, you're like, what is this? It's just a joke. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of the best. I wish you everything of the best for your exams. God bless you for the future as well. If I don't see you again, but Cat with Mr. Hembry will always be here, helping you with everything you need around the subject of cat. So good luck, God bless, and goodbye. All the best for 2021.